Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So you are in the right place if you have recently stepped into a new role or have a bigger scope in your job. Those first weeks are a blur. There's meetings, there's names, there's expectations. And before you know it, people have already formed an opinion about you. And keep in mind that in a new job, those first impressions have a lot of weight. They shape how much trust, influence, and freedom you'll have to do your job. The problem is, many of the men and the women that I work with try to either improve a lot of things at once, or they feel that they're so overwhelmed that they're more in a deer in the headlights situation, reading the onboarding manual or diving into the inbox or putting out fires, and end up exhausted, making very little progress where it actually counts. And when I work with clients, and depending on the objectives, we start differently. We start by taking a step back and mapping their leadership presence across 7 different pillars. And that's what I'm going to go into today, what those pillars are, and what those pillars signal to the organization. Because it's important that there are signs that are going out quickly and clearly that you are the right person for this role. So today I want to walk you through those 7 pillars of early leadership impact and show you, or I would say maybe challenge you, ask you some few questions of things to think about so you can focus your efforts where it will have the biggest impact, because that is what I want for you. I want men and women to take on new roles and hit the ground running. There's so much doubt in our minds and imposter syndrome that I want you to focus where it matters. So quickly going to run through what the 7 pillars or the 7 dimensions are. And then I'm going to talk you through each one a little bit. So confidence and decisiveness under pressure, clarity of direction, strategic influence, visibility, stakeholder trust, adaptability in transition, and energy and focus, or managing your energy and your focus. So each one of those dimensions is made up of specific behaviors that other people notice. And whether you realize it or not, my key message here is that you don't have to be perfect on anything, but you do need to create some awareness around what your strengths are and where there are areas for improvement that will give you the most return. And I want to reassure you, every single new man and woman that I work with goes through this. There is a leadership gap, and it's completely normal. So I don't want you to judge yourself. It's not about judgment at all. It's simply for you to create awareness, create clarity around your skills and behaviors. And once you do that, that's where you can choose to focus and build strong momentum. So the first dimension is confidence and decisiveness under pressure. Think of this as having a steady hand on the wheel. And it's not about being fearless. It's about being centered and grounded enough to make a decision and act when it really matters. So in a high stake moment, and what I consider maybe a high stake moment, like should we invest? Which candidate should we choose? Should we combine 2 teams? Could be even some M&A decisions or purchasing software, but something that is going to require time and money. And when you are hesitating around decisions like that, that sends a message. But so does conviction. That's where I want you to have a point of view. And even without perfect data, you can still frame the options, have an opinion, make a call, and communicate why you have made certain decisions. So this is your invitation on this first dimension to check in. On a scale of 1 to 5, how often do you, for example, speak with confidence even when challenged? How often do you make timely decisions without over analyzing everything and without overthinking everything? Or on a scale of 1 to 5, how quickly do you recover from setbacks? If you're unsure, I suggest starting with just a micro shift. Pick one decision this week that you'll make faster and that you will communicate clearly and early. Because confidence is built as you do things, not as asking yourself 50 million questions in your head. So make a decision. The second dimension is clarity of direction. So think of it as you're on a hike and you have no map and the woods are pretty, you're looking at the flowers, you're going by the nice stream, you're maybe stopping to look and maybe check out the fish. People will follow you for a while, but then they're going to start asking questions like, where are we going? Why are we doing this? Why is she looking at the fish? I mean, things like that. So in leadership, clarity is your map. Your team and your stakeholders should know without guessing what matters most right now and how decisions are aligning with a bigger picture. Personally, when I was the CEO, I like to communicate to the team our recent accomplishments because I think it's very, very important to celebrate what we do well. That's something we always do with my clients in coaching. And I suggest you also do it every single week. Tell yourself what you are doing that is fantastic. So I like to communicate to the team our recent accomplishments, but also short-term goals and long-term goals. And you need to repeat them because that's just basic communication. People are so overwhelmed by information. You have to over-communicate. The reason that this is so important is that people simply feel more secure when there's direction. And it doesn't mean that you won't change the course or deviate, but not saying anything about where you're going, it like opens up this big gap that people fill in their mind with their ideas and their opinions, but especially if people don't know where they're going, they fill that gap with their fears. And then it gets really difficult to motivate people. You get a lot of negative banter. So simply giving the direction. So I would like to ask you, are your top priorities obvious to others? Could your team repeat them without you in the room? So even if you think the answer is yes, I invite you to test it. Ask a few people to share in their own words what they think your top priorities are. I guarantee you the answers will be eye-opening. And this is important when you're taking on a new job because of course you need time to form an opinion. I'm not saying come in week 1 and immediately tell people where you are going. That is not credible. But I suggest not waiting too long to provide overall direction because people need it. The third dimension is strategic influence. And please don't mix this up with a need to be liked. The further you move up the ladder, the less you will probably be liked. And that's okay. It's not about being liked. It's about shaping outcomes beyond your direct control. Influence shows up in how you adapt your message for different audiences, how you navigate the politics. Yes, you're going to have to navigate politics, and also how you get buy-in for your ideas. So think back in this last month, have you influenced a decision outside your immediate scope? Do you know and understand, especially if you're coming into a new job, how the power and influence flow within your company? If not, I suggest looking for one cross-functional project or a key conversation to have where your input could shift the outcome. Choose wisely and intentionally about where you can influence, and I always suggest picking your battles because you're not going to be able to influence everything. The fourth dimension is visibility. And this is a topic that I love to work on because so many people do not want to be seen or heard. It's very uncomfortable for them, and I get it. But visibility, it isn't about being loud. Visibility is not vanity. It is simply about being seen in the right rooms, at the right moments, by the right people. And leaders who disappear and who get sucked in to their teams like day-to-day operational elements, they often get overlooked even if they're doing excellent work. And I believe it is your job to control the narrative as best as possible. I also strongly believe out of sight, out of mind. So that visibility is really important, especially when you're starting a new job. How often do you proactively create those opportunities or demonstrate your value, not only inside your reporting line, but also outside your direct reporting line? And I do have a free resource. I will link it in the show notes. It gives you 20 ways to build your visibility without feeling self-promotional. So you'll find that again in the show notes. The fifth dimension is building stakeholder trust. Trust is your currency. Without it, every request, decision, or initiative you lead is harder. And this is a topic of, I'm working with a client at the moment on building trust. I have an offer. It's called Catalyst. It is a 6-week coaching sprint, and we work on one topic. And this woman has just come back from maternity leave, and she has a new boss. Building trust is extremely important. And trust isn't built overnight. It comes from consistency, from follow through, from doing what you said you would do, and showing that you can handle both opportunity, but also the challenges. And I like to think of it, trust, as it's a bridge between two banks, two river banks. And that bridge has to hold firm no matter how strong the current is beneath it. So when you're starting a new job, ask yourself, start identifying the people who matter most to your success and finding the small, early ways to contribute value and just simply do what you say you will do. Because the idea is also, how can you position yourself as a trusted partner? And you do that by adding value. The sixth dimension is adaptability. And I call this adaptability in transition. And this, I see it a lot with the clients who have taken on a bigger job in the same company. When you are promoted, even in the same company, there could be a different culture in that department. The pace could be different. You're going to be managing new people. Your stakeholders are different. So you need to learn to be adaptable. And you probably got the promotion because you were very successful. So celebrate that. But you're also going to need to be sensitive to adapting to the new situation, reading the room, maybe adjusting your style, letting go of habits that no longer serve you. I like to think of it also as updating your phone's operating system. If you keep running on the old version, you're going to hit glitches. You just need to adapt to a new environment, to new circumstances, to new people. So in a new role, the systems, the dynamics, the expectations are different. So refresh how you operate and how you fit into that environment. One way you can do that is simply asking for feedback. Ask for feedback for people who report to you, for peers, for your boss. It's extremely important to understand what's working well and what you could do differently. Because not only does it show that you're open to feedback, but it also allows you to course correct. And the seventh dimension is managing your energy and your focus. Because if you burn out, everything else collapses. So I personally, the people that I work with who thrive long-term are ruthless about protecting time for their energy, so their well-being, but also for strategic work. And that thinking time that seems to always get pushed off of our to-do list or the meeting on the agenda. We decide, okay, I don't need to have that time block. I'll go to the meeting instead. So the way that you can look at it here is ask yourself if you're spending a lot of time reacting rather than shaping the direction of where you want to take your team or the business unit. So in a new role, it's very easy to get swept up into urgent and requests and crises that maybe the person ahead of you didn't manage for a very long time. But please ask yourself where and how you're spending your time and what is going to have the biggest strategic impact. I personally like to block time off. It could be weekly, it could be monthly, everybody's different, but blocking time off to do some strategic work or strategic thinking on your calendar, and treat that like non-negotiable meetings, and use that time to focus on priorities that are going to move the business forward. If you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, it is that quadrant that is things that are important and not urgent. And I strongly believe that senior leaders should be spending 70% of their time on things that are important and not urgent. So, what is important and not urgent? Building relationships, thinking about your 90-day plan, preparing for crucial conversations, but protect that space early because it will also set a tone for how you work. And it also ensures that you're not at the mercy of other people's agendas, which is a whole different topic. So when you look at these 7 dimensions, remember, you're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for awareness. And when you are aware, it allows you to have choice and allows you to be intentional about where you spend your time and how to create impact in your job. So I suggest picking one dimension where you're already strong, double down on it because it will amplify your impact fast, and also pick one area to improve upon and commit to something small, doable, and make a change this month. If you are ready to work on these dimensions, as I was talking through them, if you're like, oh, I need work on that. Oh, I need work on that. Yes, I think that is an area of risk. If you have a new job, if you're going to be taking on a new job and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure about visibility or influence, please reach out. I would love to talk about how we could potentially work together to help you be massively successful in your new job. That is what I want for you. Please reach out through LinkedIn or through my website and we can discuss the next steps, see if working together would be a good fit or not, depending on your situation. Have a fantastic week, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Go be brilliant. We'll see you next week.